Welcome to the 3-0 Regular Guy Vikings Hour show. How about those Vikings, huh? Look at us, right? 3-0. We killed the Texans this week. I mean, what more can you say? It's a great week, and I can't wait until we have a chance to go and play the Packers in Lambeau. Let's go for 4-0, baby. Look at us now. So the first thing I want to get to in this show is a segment I call Vikings Views, where I'm just basically going to kind of talk about everything Vikings. Before I get to basically the way the show's going to break down is we're going to do Vikings Views, we're going to do live game notes, we're going to do a Texans game review, and then we're going to do my Go Look segment, right, where I pluck out 5 plays from the game and show them to you, kind of break them down, and they're just interesting plays that I found throughout the game. So to get it started, let's go ahead and have us a sip of purple Kool-Aid. Cheers. And celebrate those 3-0 Vikings and get into these Vikings views. And of course, if you're enjoying the channel, I just ask for an opportunity. You know, if you could give me a thumbs up and a subscription, and we can keep this thing going, okay? I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here. All right, so right off the bat, everybody's going to be talking about us this week, right? I mean, in addition to being 3-0, we're blowing out every team. I mean, the score should have been bigger against the 49ers. We all know that. The way that we played felt like a blowout, even though the game was only a 6-point difference. So everyone's going to be talking about us this week. And despite that, we're still going to have our doubters. I mean, I'm recording this on Tuesday night. I've already seen some of the shows. Of course, there are the doubters. We've seen them. And no matter what we accomplish, it doesn't matter because there will always be the next hurdle, right? Yeah, okay, you won. You beat the 49ers in your conference. That's a Super Bowl contending team, but what else can you do? Okay, well, you beat an AFC team who might be considered a Super Bowl contender, but what else can you do? Can you beat a division opponent on the road? Oh yeah, well, can you win overseas at a weird start time against a Jets team with Aaron Rodgers and a good defense? Can you beat the defending division champion Lions? Can KOC beat McVay? I mean, it's just like one hurdle after another after another. They're going to have questions about our team every single step of the way. Try not to let it bother you. The list will literally go on and on and on, and they will never stop doubting us. It doesn't matter. The national media has never loved us. It doesn't matter. My hope is we just continue to stack wins because the NFL is a tough league. So just prepare yourself for that constant disrespect from the national media because it will come, because we will eventually lose a game and they're going to be like, aha, I told you so. You know, there it is. The Vikings are frauds. Forget all that noise. We've seen the team through 3 games. They're legit. We know they're legit. Don't listen to it. Keep drinking the purple Kool-Aid, okay? The regular guy told you so. Keep doing it. All right. Something that is very, very different in terms, this is just a short one. Something very different about this year compared to previous seasons, even with KOC and then going back to Zimmer, is that we look prepared to start games. Okay, throw out that first 3 plays to start the game against the Giants, where I think Darnold took a sack. Ingram just let the guy blow. I think it was Lawrence just blow by him. Then on the next play, there's a dump off to Ham. Ham fumbles. Giants recover, and then they get a quick field goal. And those are literally the only 3 points we have given up in first quarters so far through the first 3 games, which is what? Well, that's 3 quarters, right? So anyway, basically the way that we are starting games, the way that we look so prepared is so refreshing and different from what we've seen in past seasons. And right now we hold a 24-3 advantage in the first quarter, even despite that first dreadful drive with the Ham fumble. So just know things are changing. Look at that first quarter as an indicator. We're starting off games fast. It's things are going in the right direction. Okay. So, something that I noticed during this last game against the Texans, we were kind of blowing them out and things were getting late into the game. Suddenly it kind of occurred to me, before the season started, if somebody had asked you then, hey, would you be cool with a 3-2 record through 5 games? I mean, you would have taken that in a heartbeat. You would have been like, heck yeah, I'll take 3-2, because that means that we're kind of in contention. We're gonna be viable. We're gonna be contending for a playoff spot. That would have been widely accepted as a nice start. That would have put us in a really good position to challenge for a playoff spot in the NFC. Right? I no longer feel that way. We're 3-0 now. So if we were to start the season now 3-2, that means that we would lose our next 2 games, and it would be such a huge buzzkill. And just the expectations, that's just no longer acceptable. The expectations for the season have changed. They have officially changed. This is no longer a transition year or a growing year. That's behind us now. We're now challenging for the division. Okay, we're up in the division right now. The other teams got to catch us first. Okay, we're now the team to beat, at least right at this moment. I get that Detroit's defending the division right now, and that Green Bay typically is the team to beat in the division, but right now we're the team to beat. Okay, so at this point, leading the division, let's say we get another win on Sunday against Green Bay. We've got a division win under our belt. We're 4-0. Who knows what happens with Detroit? They got a tough matchup with Seattle. If we get a little bit of room, suddenly we can start, even though it's only really a quarter of the way through the season, we can start thinking about things beyond just winning the division. But, maybe later in the year you start thinking about things like, you know, how many home field games are we going to have in the playoffs, that kind of thing. And so it's okay to think that way. It's okay to think kind of pie in the sky, because this team is leading us in that direction. If they keep this up, the trajectory of the season has changed. We're a real challenger in the NFC now. There's no more talk of next year. It's this year. We're a contender right now. Okay? Take it from me. The regular guy, he's telling you. Okay, so I'm going to ask this question honestly. Show me the weakness on this team right now. Okay, the 2022 team was rightfully criticized, despite the 13-4 record. Okay, that team was always on the brink of collapse. We could always feel it. Every single game, something new and wild was happening. The defense we were either getting blown out, or the defense was making not making mistakes so much as just like giving up a ton of yards, giving up a ton of points, and we were somehow making our way through that season, and we continued to win games, and we won the division. And yet, I think deep down we all knew that team just was so flawed. They really had no legitimate chance. And I'm just saying that this team is just so much different. But I challenge you to take a look at this team as it's currently constructed and show me a weakness that other teams can exploit. And I'll actually point one out myself, and that is something I've talked about in previous episodes, which is, can we legitimately stop the run with our number ones, with our first string starting defensive line, when teams are insisting on running the ball? Because the one time that we got challenged by the 49ers, when Mason ran for 100 yards on us and broke off several really good runs, Shanahan seemed to go away from the run game just in time for us to catch our breath. And I really felt maybe a little bit lucky in that Shanahan went away from the run, because had he stuck with it, I think he could have really exploited our defensive line. Now, I actually think that weakness could be potentially remedied by having the right players active on game days that we can actually use to game plan against teams that want to run the ball against us. Okay, now, case in point, a team coming up this week on Sunday, the Green Bay Packers, they run the ball extremely well. Matt LaFleur has shown that he wants to run the ball, especially if the young guy starting instead of Love, Malik Willis, who I don't think they really trust to really kind of throw the ball a lot. And so the Packers have really bought into the running game, and so I think this is a really great test for our defense to show, can they stop the run consistently? Because with the ones, I'm not so sure, but if we're rotating the defensive line enough and we're bringing in guys like Tyamani and LDR and Redmond and we're keeping everyone fresh, I think we do have a shot at holding up against the run, even against teams that want to run. And so that's something that I'm really interested in and looking forward to. And I will actually talk more about that on my preview show later in the week. Okay. Here's something else that could come up, right? As something I'm asking, point to what weaknesses, what could go wrong for this team? Well, of course, injuries, right? Especially in the particular wrong spots could crop up and hurt us. But honestly, who is that statement not true for in the NFL? I mean, any team, if you hit them with injuries in any particular area, would at least, fall off a little bit. So I don't see that as like a viable argument, because it's such a random variable where it's like, yeah, if a guy like Aaron Jones or Stephon Gilmore went down, then yeah, that's gonna hurt us, and it's unexpected. But as of now, everybody's healthy. We're getting guys back. The team's looking great, and so I'm like, you know what? Until it actually happens, don't even worry about it. Every team in the NFL deals with injuries. Next man up is the mantra. KOC's built great culture here, so I figure to heck with it, right? So other than defending the run and maybe like the possibility of injuries, I dare you to find a weakness on this team right now. Okay. So, and we're just as deep as we've ever been, and I think that's very true. I think this roster is super, super deep, and it feels like we accomplished it in one off season, which is truly amazing. I'm also going to do an episode later this week that is literally nothing but the whole show is going to be about Kwesi, because Kwesi has done such an outstanding job as our GM. I cannot overstate it. I get tired of the negative, press or commentary that he gets, and I'm over that. I want to defend Kwesi. I'm going to put a whole show out about him. Okay, so this came up, actually, I was watching Purple Daily, and they were actually talking about an article by Mark Craig that came out in the Star Tribune, and it was about Kevin O'Connell, and it was about him unleashing what he would call his dark side, okay? Now, it's been said among players and coaches, people in the building, along with himself, that he feels like he's got more of an edge now going into his third year, right? And kind of with that in mind, after that very first practice session with the Cleveland Browns, it's being reported in that article that he really laced into the team after that and told them that if they didn't play more physical, if they didn't buy in more to what this team was trying to accomplish, they weren't going to go anywhere. And so it feels as if the team really heard him and really took that to heart, and things have really kind of changed since that point. Now, apparently at that time, it was actually kind of misreported that KOC had gone to one of the Cleveland coaches, I think the defensive coordinator over there, Schwartz maybe, and it said, hey, tone down the physicality on your side, when in fact it was, I don't know what KOC was actually saying to the coach, but in fact what KOC's mindset was in that moment was that he wanted his team to get more physical to match what Cleveland was doing to his team, and it looks like the team has stepped up to the challenge. Now, just some of my own thoughts on kind of the new physical nature of the team, which I am very impressed by, and I have noticed, is that I felt like it started to show up in all three of the preseason games. And what better teams can you face in the preseason to kind of gauge yourself against than the Raiders, the Browns, and the Eagles, who are three teams who are really known, at least at this time, for being pretty physical teams, pretty physically dominating teams. And so those were really great preseason games to gauge our team against, and I feel like they really stepped up. I mean, you saw it for yourself. We went 3-0 in the preseason. We beat all three of them. And I really feel in the second halves in particular, we really dominated all three of those teams. And so I came away super impressed, and I also thought to myself, our team looks better. They look tougher. They look just more physical. They look more ready to go right off the bat. They just looked better coached, I just everything looked better about the team, and so that preseason got me excited for the season, which kind of prompted me to want to start this channel and start talking about the Vikings. So I thought, now or never, right? Because now the team looks really great heading into the season. I think I should really, start to figure this out and get some stuff on tape, because I really want to talk about this team and where they're going. And lo and behold, look where we are. Look where we are. We're 3-0, and the sky's the limit. So, yeah, I could feel it coming, and I think a lot of you probably could as well. So just in addition to showing that new style of football on the field, we actually managed to create a momentum by going undefeated in the preseason, which we hadn't done before. I don't think that KOC had won a preseason game up until this year. He was like 0-6 or 0-7 or something like that. And that really bothered me in those first 2 years. And they were trying to dismiss it like, oh, well, preseason doesn't matter. We're just trying to get a good look at the players. I'm like, well, if you're getting a good look at the players and the players aren't winning the game, then you have problems. And we knew that those first 2 seasons, they were trying to build the roster back up, and the depth was terrible. And I think we all knew it. And it took 3 years for Kwesi and KOC and even Flores with his input to finally build this roster up. And now we're good at the starting positions, we're good on depth, and we're finally deep. And that it matters. And that momentum from the preseason carried into the season. We needed that. Now, here was something that really spoke to me. Okay, so it was said in the article that when Coach KO and Coach Flo got together after the season and they talked, they came up and decided on 3 core ingredients with every new player addition that they were going to add to the team. And that was, the 3 items were toughness, smarts, and a love of football. And for my money, just to kind of go off track just for a second, those 3 things describe our young quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, perfectly, which is why I'm bought in completely for him going forward, starting in 2025. And I have said this explicitly, at least at some point, maybe on the show or maybe just to myself, I don't know. It doesn't matter to me what Darnold does this year. I love Sam for what he's doing this year. I love the way that he's playing. But I don't care. I don't even care if he wins a Super Bowl. It doesn't matter, because J.J. McCarthy is exactly the player that we need and we want. He's the perfect guy to play under O'Connell, and he's on a rookie contract, okay? Because even if Darnold wins us a Super Bowl, which is like, great, we want to win a Super Bowl, we're not then going to go and spend $40-50 million on a quarterback when we have a guy ready to take over right now on a rookie scale contract. Even the idea of franchising him doesn't make sense to me, because when you franchise tag a guy, he gets paid among like the top 5 at his position, and all of the top quarterbacks are making like $50 million now. So you still got to pay the guy $50 million for at least a year. And yeah, I know the idea of like trading him is, you franchise him, then you trade him later in the year. That's on the table, but I don't know. It's like, that just feels kind of a weird logic to me. I just think, enjoy the Sam Darnold ride for now. Take him as far as as he can get you. If that's a Super Bowl or a Super Bowl win, great. But when the year is over, it's time to transition to J.J. McCarthy. I'm saying that now. Let Sam Darnold build himself back up this 1 year in Minnesota, then let him go somewhere else and have his success. We are building something that goes beyond Sam Darnold here in Minnesota, and that includes J.J. McCarthy. Okay, this is an entire team that's being built. Okay, and he is the centerpiece. Okay, so with that out of the way, O'Connell, getting back to what O'Connell and Flores said, basically what O'Connell kind of finished with was that he wants to build and sustain a team based on those core values. Okay. And I just kind of, my own thoughts again on that is that yes, thank you. Like, I love that. I love what he has to say. That's perfect. That's exactly what I want as a fan. And so, speaking for myself, yes, you do that, the rest will take care of itself. Okay, I couldn't agree more. And I'm falling in love with this coaching staff. I'm falling in love with O'Connell. I'm falling in love with Flores. I hope even if, I don't know if Flores is going to get coaching opportunities or not because of all the stuff hanging over his head, but do whatever it takes to keep that guy. I mean, sign him to the most lucrative defensive coordinator contract in the league if you have to. Whatever it takes, keep him, okay? Because he's brilliant on the defensive side of the ball. And then I don't think we probably could have made a better coaching choice in O'Connell. I think he has already gotten into the top 10 at this point. He's creeping towards the top 5. At some point, I think he's going to be top 3. He has everything you want in a coach. I couldn't ask for more. We're so lucky to have him. Things are looking up, guys. Honestly, the sky's the limit. Like, I just say it so many times. Like, every single piece of the puzzle is practically in place, dude. This thing is going from just win me one to let's have a dynasty. Okay, we're headed in that direction. All right, and then just to finally close out that interview with O'Connell, he just said that this was a layer that he felt that the fans needed to know about him so that they understood that he had kind of that dog in him. That's not a direct quote. That's just me kind of paraphrasing him. But we know, Coach. We know. We knew you had it in you the whole time. We knew that you had to come in. You had to change that culture first. You had to get the guys on board. You had to gain their trust. And now you're in your 3rd year. Now you can start asking more of them. Okay, raising your expectations a little bit. I just think he's a perfect fit. There's nothing else to say. I just love the guy. All right, so moving on. More Vikings views. We're not even done yet. We're 20 minutes in. Can we stop with the Ed Ingram stuff? I'm so sick of this. It's so ridiculous. Once again, PFF kills Ed Ingram in pass protection. And this narrative is just out there. It's living. And everybody is just parroting the same talking points. Oh my God, Ed Ingram, he's so terrible. Get him off the field. And he's got to be replaced, as soon as Reisner's back. Ingram's off the field, Reisner's in there. And it's like, again, I am not the biggest Ed Ingram fan in the world. I have had plenty of disdain for this guy the first 2 years. He drove me crazy. It felt like he was just like making some kind of bonehead play at the worst possible moments. And I was like, at that time, I was like, get this freaking guy out of here. But we're in year 3 now. I'm watching the tape closely now. I'm not doing my own parroting back of these talking points. And I'm telling you, I'm using my own eyes now. I'm forming my own opinions now. And I'm telling you, this is being beaten to death. This is a non-issue, and it's low-hanging fruit. I'm saying it right now. When Reisner comes back off of short-term IR after the 4th game, he is not going to be named the starter at right guard. He's going to nestle in nicely as the backup at right guard, and Juergens is going to go to the practice squad. Okay, Ingram will remain the starter. I'm saying it now. Okay, Ingram isn't going anywhere. Get used to it. Yeah, he has that one play per game where you're just like, damn it. But so far, so good this year. It hasn't really hurt us. I mean, it's so funny to me, too, how we're just, like, nitpicking the hell out of this guy. Meanwhile, the offense is just exploding and doing so great. And it's like, really? Seems as if you had such a horrible turnstile at right guard, the offense would just be decimated, right? No. So, again, I'm calling my shot. Ingram's not going anywhere. He will be the starter so long as he remains healthy for the rest of the year. All of this stuff being said about him is overblown. I've watched the games. There's nothing to it, okay? And I went back just because I'm so sick and tired having to defend this guy. I had to go back and watch, what plays. Like, show me, PFF, what 3 pressures did you see, PFF? Please show me, because I didn't see them. I saw one, the one where Tim Settle got him. Okay, and that was a sack. I get that one. There's one. Here are the other plays I thought maybe he could have got a pressure on. The weird Darnold flip play where he kind of like threw the ball forward toward Jones, and it was at first thought to be a fumble and then ended up just being an incomplete pass. Dude, he held on to that ball from snap till scramble for 4.5 seconds. And literally the entire line collapsed around Darnold, and he started to scramble and then did that weird flip. If a guy if just he got a pressure on that play, that would be ridiculous and disingenuous. The next one I saw was that weird play. It was on our second drive, I think. No, the third drive maybe, where everything just kind of went wrong. We were backed up close to our own end zone, and on third down and long, he just kind of like spiked the ball into the ground. And at first, they were going to say, "Oh, that's intentional grounding," but then they actually revised it, and they were like, "No, he wasn't under duress. He just kind of threw the ball into the ground." And so, can't call a pressure on that. He wasn't under duress. The refs said it themselves. So, literally, Ingram had his guy in front of him by the time, Darnold even decided to just throw the ball into the ground. So, that didn't look like a pressure to me. Then we had, this one is a maybe. A guy he fell to the ground and was kind of like at Darnold's feet, and was kind of like grabbing at his ankles. And the ironic thing is that, again, this was a double team where Bradbury was supposed to be helping Ingram on the double team and didn't do his part. And so then Ingram ends up looking like the bad guy on the play when it's like he's expecting Bradbury to be there to help him block, and he's just not there. And I'm not talking about like Bradbury was gone. I'm talking about like Bradbury was there, but not there. He just like wasn't blocking. And ironically, again, this is a play where literally Darnold threw a touchdown to Jalen Naylor. So it's like, show me where this is hurting the team. Okay, so that's maybe a 2. I call it like more of a 1.5. And then the final one was something I think maybe happened in the fourth quarter. It was where Ingram was actually blocking his guy. Then Aaron Jones came in and kind of like rammed into the guy's gut and kind of like dropped him to the ground. But the guy kind of like went to his hands and knees and then popped right back up, and Ingram wasn't expecting that, and they had to kind of like chase him. All the while, Darnold was actually kind of scrambling forward, and then actually the way the play resulted was that Darnold ended up just dumping the ball off real quick to Jones, who had done that quick little chip and then popped out and was available for a little throw. So again, if that was a pressure on Ingram, that I don't understand it. So those were literally the only plays that I saw from my perspective with my own eyeballs, going back and looking, where did this guy screw up? Show me where he screwed up. Yet PFF had him as 3 pressures. I don't remember how many pass protection snaps it was, but when I looked at the score, right, they gave him like a 29 or something like that, and then I compared that to just the overall pass protection scores of every single guard in the NFL through the first 3 games of the year. That would have put him at like the 5th worst game of the year. And so I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, really, that was the 5th worst pass protection game of the year by any guard in the league through all the games? Get out of here, dude. I'm so sick and tired of this talking point. Ed Ingram's fine. Stop talking about it. It's crazy. Okay, here we go. We're almost done with Vikings Views. I know this one's probably going to go long. This is going to be a long show, and that's cool. It's okay, because my last couple shows went a little bit short. This one can be long. That's all right. I wanted to talk about my my inactive predictions. Okay, I actually almost nailed them. I got one wrong. I did predict that McGlothern would not be in the game. It would be Moreau. That actually ended up happening. I thought it'd be a cool moment to have Richter and McGlothern and LDR all kind of get their first active all together, but didn't happen that way. They weren't down with the show of it all or whatever, the pageantry. But then Jalen Redmond got to dress over LDR. When I saw that, I was like, what? How? Because, I'm sorry. I get it. Redmond played great in the preseason. So did LDR. How did he not get to dress for this game? And I'm so happy that and I'll talk about it later. Redmond got himself a sack late in the game. That was awesome. I am happy for him. I am looking forward to him being a major part of this defensive line going forward. But I really felt like Levi Drake Rodriguez deserved to be active again in that game. So maybe his time's coming. I don't know. But that one really shocked me and kind of bugged me. And then finally, this one's actually not a Viking specific view, but I wanted to talk about this because after the game last Sunday, I went looking for some Texans related opinions just to kind of see how they were reacting to the game. And I happened upon a channel on YouTube. It's called Texans Today by Chat Sports. And all I can say is that if you want a good laugh, I think his video is about 12 minutes long. You don't have to watch the whole thing, but please go watch it because he was like screaming. He was so pissed off. He was like just ripping the offense for the way that they performed in that game with all the penalties and stuff. But here's the part you have to see, because he's like screaming and yelling and like just like laying into the offensive line, and then he has to begrudgingly transition into an ad promotion. And the way he has to get through this promo for like, I don't know, 30 seconds or whatever it was, with just like the seething anger, like just like emanating off of him, it was so funny. I was crying. And so I just crying, laughing. And so all I'm saying is that if you have a moment, please go check out that video because it is well worth it. Okay, so we have finished up with our Vikings views. Now we're going to head on to our live game notes, which, again, for a 34-7 game, making live game notes is a lot of fun. I want to start off with some mea culpas, and that is, I think in my last episode in the preview show, I called Bobby Bryant Bobby Brown, and that's messed up. Put some respect on that man's name. He's in the Ring of Honor. He was one of our greatest defensive backs of all time. Bobby Bryant. He also blew the Gjallarhorn and was there at the beginning of the game looking good. So, yeah, my bad. Bobby Bryant. Vikings great. Okay. Another mea culpa was that I got Kaimi Fairbairn's first name wrong. I think I called him Kair, so my fault on that. And then finally, I talked about Brevin Jordan in my preview show. And in fact, he was out for the year. He got some kind of injury, and he was ruled out for the year like 2 days prior. So I didn't catch that. So it was Schultz and Stover at tight end for the Texans. So anyway, just some mea culpas. I want to take ownership and some accountability for when I get stuff wrong. So there you go. Okay, so here, let's make sure we get a little closer. I want to make sure I'm loud enough. Okay, so Coach KO is 3-0 in coin flips so far this year. And, of course, he's deferred every time, which is, I've talked about that. But you know what? I've made my peace with it. It's fine. Everything's going great. So he's got the magic touch on coin flips this year. I'm cool with that. So maybe down the line that's going to pay off. So I love seeing that. I talked about how I was super worried about Brian Asamoah getting defensive snaps in this game because he is technically, according to the depth chart, the direct backup to Ivan Pace. I am so glad that the defensive coaches see what I see and did not put Asamoah in the game, but in fact played Cashman and Kamu Grugier-Hill, KGH, next to each other. And look at how that paid off, right? Because right off the bat, Phillips gets that tip, and that ball just falls right into KGH's breadbasket, dude, and he gets that interception to start the game. Second play on defense. I mean, just what a way to just start that game. I mean, it just instantly, you just felt that energy. It was so awesome. All right, so our strategy on kickoffs continues to be to just kick the ball out of the end zone. And so I was okay with that strategy for this game because I had talked about the Houston Texans having a really good special teams. So there was something to be maybe kind of fearful of in this particular game. And that worked out in our favor this time around because they didn't really hit us with any kind of big special teams plays that I can recall. I don't think so. But I'm hoping that at some point we do start to incorporate some new strategy in that arena, but for now, you know, things are going okay. So Record's just booming the ball through the end zone. Then on the very next drive, look at this. Kamu again strips the ball, almost gets a fumble for our team. They end up. Here's the weird part for me. They call the play a fumble on the field, and then based on the replay, I mean, it looks like he caught it and tucked it. They say he didn't make a football move, but I kind of feel like the tuck is the football move. But it seemed weird to me to overturn that when you called it a fumble on the field, to then overturn it and say, you know, incomplete pass. Because I was like, that looked like a catch to me, dude. And KGH about nearly had 2 turnovers in 2 drives which is just amazing. What a start to the game, but it didn't quite happen. So the Houston drive continued. They ended up passing on a long field goal attempt, which I thought was odd because I feel like they have a lot of confidence in Fairbairn. Although in this game he didn't pay off. So they go forward on fourth down. They actually end up converting the fourth down. But then they end up having to try a long field goal anyway because of the beginning of the Grenard revenge game, right? And then so then Fairbairn has to try the long field goal anyway. He ends up missing. So I had talked up Fairbairn during my preview, saying that this guy is nails and we got to match him kick for kick. Turns out he didn't bring his A game. So hey, I'll take it every day, right? I mean, if we're used to kickers killing us on 50 plus yarders, so for a guy to finally miss one, that was a breath of fresh air. All right, so our first two trips to the red zone, we scored 2 touchdowns, and there's just something new and refreshing about this offense. And listen, I'm not over here trying to like rip Kirk Cousins and tear him down every time a conversation about touchdowns and quarterbacks comes up. But I was just so used to not, when we got inside the 20 or even deeper inside the 10, just not getting into the end zone. I was just so used to it. I'm like, well, here we go. Here's another occasion where we're just not going to quite punch it in. We're going to take our 3 points and we're going to let a team hang around, right? Not this team. Not this team. When we get into the red zone, we score touchdowns. We're actually, I think, right now, 7th in the league with 70% on touchdown percentage. We're 7 out of 10 so far this year. And honestly, it feels better than that. So I was actually kind of surprised, like, oh man, I thought we would have been like 9 for 10, but I'm probably misremembering a couple of occasions. But 7 out of 10 so far, 70%, good for 7th in the league. 2 for 2 to start off the game against the Texans, which really just put them on their heels. I mean, from that point forward, it felt like they were always playing catch-up. We had them. At this point in the game, I made a note about how penalties are starting to become a problem for Houston. They look sloppy and undisciplined. That's going to get worse. Jihad Ward with an absolutely perfectly timed rush on a snap, and I went back and watched it in slow motion. He was not in the neutral zone. Literally, as his helmet was moving forward, the ball was moving backwards to be snapped to the quarterback. It literally couldn't have been timed any perfectly. I mean, Jihad Ward, he's just been such a revelation. It feels like he's playing nose tackle, but he's been such a force there. I mean, just as close as you can get without getting a flag. So props to Jihad with that just wonderful timing of that snap. I was really confused by this one. So at some point, Kamu had gotten some great inside pressure on a punt by the Texans, and we had actually almost blocked it, but we ended up kind of falling in front of him, and the rule is that if the punter can't land properly, then it's technically running into the kicker, which is a 5-yard penalty. So we did have that penalty called on us. So this was actually a 4th and 8 at the time. It would have made it 4th and 3 from their own 35, and they turned down the penalty. So I didn't understand that because they ended up downing the ball at the 16, which is like, okay, it's inside the 20, but it's not like you downed it inside the 5. I didn't understand, at the very least, re-kicking it and trying to pin us deeper. But, I mean, you're at the 35. I mean, I don't know. You're down 14-0. Maybe try and go for it there. I'm not sure. But turning down the running into the kicker penalty early in the game felt like scared coaching. I don't know. Ryan's just didn't look like he was ready for us at all. Anyway, yeah, like I mentioned, it was KGH. It was Kamu again. Make an impact on defense, make an impact on special teams. That guy, he's bringing it. He came to play. And yeah, the Texans are one of his former teams, so yeah, I think he maybe had a little bit of extra juice for this one, right? The third drive was a bad one. First, that was that risky throw to Oliver down the sideline where Jets was open, short as a shorter route. And then there were back-to-back penalties, and then we got pushed way back. And we just looked out of sorts on that one. But we were bailed out by a very nice punt by Ryan Wright, who I've been talking up this year. It's another guy people like to talk down because they're like, oh, I don't pay attention except when I see a bad kick. Then suddenly it's like, oh, Ryan Wright's a bad punter. Maybe just watch the games, pay attention, see everything that's happening, okay? Because Ryan Wright has been excellent, okay? And on this punt, he's punting out of his own end zone. He punts it beyond the 40-yard line for the Texans and pins the returner on the sideline. And I have noticed him on his shanks, those balls have been going toward the sideline, and I think he's been aiming them. I think he is working on these sideline pin style punts, and so it's something that does backfire on him from time to time, but I think it's going to be a real weapon. I think it's clearly something that's in his arsenal, something that he's working on, so keep your eye out for that. That throwback pass play, that on 3rd and 12, it was the Texans. It was the one where they threw the ball out to Diggs, and then he threw it back across the field to, I don't even remember. It was on a 3rd and 12. That was a bold play call. And I just felt like for that early in the game, it felt like the Texans were getting a little bit desperate just to get anything going offensively. And so it ended up working out for them. But just, man, what a risky play to run at that time. Then there was when the crowd was just going nuts. 3 false start penalties in a row on the Texans. I mean, the Vikings and the crowd were just in their heads. It was so great to see. Like, we weren't just beating them. We were destroying them. It was so good. Check out that great heads-up play by Brandon Powell on that Houston punt, where the ball is bouncing inside the 10, and instead of just kind of running away from the ball, he actually hits the gunner, knocking him away from the ball, and the ball then goes into the end zone to give us the ball at the 20, instead of allowing that guy a chance to pin us down deep. Just yet again, another instance of Brandon Powell making a great, smart football play. He is such an underrated player, but we're so lucky to have him. Bradbury had 2 false start penalties in this game, which is really weird because he's a center. And then he follows that up on this second occasion by getting a mismatch in pass protection against Danielle Hunter, who had a great game, by the way. And Hunter owned him. He got right through. And so Bradbury didn't necessarily have that good of a day. Here, let me get rid of this little notification here. Okay, so Bradbury. Okay, Pat Jones, he was kind of quiet on this day, but he did have a nice TFL on one of those plays, which it felt like we were constantly making plays like that, forcing the Texans into like long yard, down in distance type situations. And so that's just another moment where another person steps up, makes a play, forces the Texans backwards, and now they got to make up more yardage on the next down, right? At some point, I had made a note about Laramie Tunsil single-handedly torpedoing the Houston Texans offense by himself. And then in my preview show, I had the audacity to say that this guy was on par with Brian O'Neill. I take that back. Brian O'Neill is much better than that guy. That was sad. It was sad. Justin Jefferson had an incredible first half. I think he had basically all of his yards in the first half, plus the touchdown. Just doing it all. Just chunk catch after chunk catch, picking up first downs. He's such a delight, dude. He's the best in the league. What can you say? Then in the second half, I started noticing. No, actually, this was kind of tail end of the second quarter. Our O-line was starting to slip a little bit. The Texans' defensive line was getting a little bit more tenacious. A little bit better than what I thought they were going to do. And in addition to that, Darnold was on occasion not quite getting the ball out on time. So I just started to notice that our offense wasn't quite operating at the same level. Some more pressures were happening. Some more guys were getting in his face. So kudos to the Texans for at least trying, because I would say that this defense doesn't fall. This loss does not fall on the Houston Texans defensive line. I felt like the defensive line overall played a really good game. There were several guys, actually. I thought Al-Shaair had a great game. Tua I barely even noticed. The corners, I think, really got exposed. I think that Petrie had some nice plays in that game, but overall, I mean, look at that, 34 points. I mean, yeah, they have a good defense, but hey, even good defenses have bad days. Van Ginkel, or as I call him, Van G, with a sack at the end of the first half. Just what a player, man. Just every single game making plays. I love that guy. A healthy Jalen Naylor, who has 3 touchdowns in 3 games, almost 4. When he is combined with our other guys coming back, he gives us, in my opinion, the number 1 set of skill position players in the entire NFL. Okay, nobody else can match Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Jalen Naylor, TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones. Nobody else can match that. We're number 1. It's going to take us a few more weeks before we get everybody back, and hopefully no injuries happen between now and then. But I'm telling you, what is that? 5 guys, 5 skill position guys, all playing at a level like this. Nobody else can beat that. We have as good skill position players as there are in the NFL at the best. As I'm saying, we have the best. Our offense is, I mean, we're destined for great things. I mean, what else can you say? Like, it's going to be fun to watch. I loved this. Coach O'Connell came out, first possession of the first half, up tempo. He has such great instincts as an offensive play caller, and he's going for the gusto. He wants to stomp the other team. He wants to put his foot on their throat, and I just love that because we haven't seen that in such a long time. He's pushing all the right buttons right now. I'm so excited with the direction of the team right now. The 45 minutes. Wow, this is gonna be a long show. The double lateral flea flicker play, which I thought was kind of out of context for how the game was going. It scared the hell out of me. We ended up getting a PI out of it, but I just for plays like that, if we're going to be up in the game, I would rather not even give the other team an opportunity to get some kind of crazy turnover on a play like that. That one kind of freaked me out, but we got a PI out of it. The throw was to Munt for some reason. I don't know why it was to Munt, but it was. That was weird to me. It was kind of a... So as I talk about O'Connell just being like, just pushing all the right buttons, and then he calls a play like that, and I'm kind of like, okay, maybe he doesn't push all the right buttons. Sometimes he's got kind of a wacky one, but at the very least he's being innovative, so I'll give him that much. Okay, Grenard, I think this was his second sack. I have a note. He's having a huge game, and it felt like everybody on the defense was contributing. And I when I went back and I did all my player grades, that was true. The entire defense just evenly all contributed. It was amazing. Everybody's making a play one way or another. I have to give props to Tim Settle, the second string defensive lineman for the Texans. He had a really, really nice game. He made a couple of our guys look bad. He looked back like how he did in his Washington days when he earned that first free agent contract. And I think at some point a broadcaster, I don't know if it was Charles Davis or Ian Eagle, had said that he was known for his run defense. I don't think that's true. I think he's known as more of a pass rusher, and he really showed it in that game. So good for him. After that, Ingram had his one oof play of the game, which, on cue, he has one every game. That's bound to happen. Fortunately, it didn't hurt us too much. On that one scoring drive by Houston, they really made it a point to take advantage of Byron Murphy, which I thought they were going to try and do for more of the game. They just ended up doing it on basically one drive, which, hey, you got 7 points out of it. And, yeah, he made Murphy look bad, but... and Murphy, I think, was my lowest graded player on defense for the game, which is like, it happens. But when you go up against guys like, Diggs and Nico Collins, I mean, you're going to, it's going to happen. So overall, I thought he played pretty good. This one's kind of a side note, but the Bucs ruined my parlay, man. What are they doing losing to the Broncos at home? Like, that's just ridiculous, especially like with all the good vibes they had going, the way Mayfield was playing, the way the defense was playing. You just let Bo Nix walk into your house and do that. I was so annoyed by that. And, man, I hate it when the parlay gets broken up. For me on the West Coast, the game started at 10 a.m. To have your parlay broken up in the freaking first window, that's annoying, dude. It's like you just know I had 3 games left, and I was like, well, it doesn't even matter at this point. My parlay's already gone. Anyway, My note about Fairbairn not looking good today. You're right, at the missed field goal, kicked the ball out of bounds. Like, ouch, not a good game for him. And I talked him up. Hunter with a low hit on Darnold. I don't think it was on purpose, but he's just kind of, he doesn't really quit. He's kind of a tenacious guy, and so I don't know. I think he was just trying to finish the play, but that was a close one, man. He almost ruined our year. He almost wrecked our year. So, Daniil, careful, man. Watch yourself. Anyway, good luck in Houston. Second Nealer TD wiped out by OPI. It was a good call. Aaron Jones didn't put a lot of effort into disguising that one. So that was okay. But then later in that drive, a great jet sweep call to Naylor on the 4th and 1, and he executed it perfectly. Just cutting it upfield and getting that first down. Well done. O'Neal got rolled up on at some point in the game, left temporarily. Darisaw also left the game at some point. I didn't see what happened to him, but he missed a few snaps. But David Quessenberry came in on both sides, right and left, and played solid in both. In fact, I even had him graded out to having a couple of really good run blocking snaps. So, way to go, Quest, man. Like, it just stepped right in, just like I talked about him. Like, you don't need Rouse to play right now because Quest can start in, or not, just come in a pinch, right or left side, and give you good, solid play. So, well done. This was another off-game note to self. If the Browns defense does not have Myles Garrett, they are nowhere near the same defense. So don't count on them to win or bet on them in any way, because Myles Garrett makes that defense. They are not the same. These two drops that Justin Jefferson had late in the game really bothered me. Now, as it turned out, he had some kind of like finger thing. But man, that's just so unusual for him. It really caught me by surprise. But I'll say this, it's better to have it happen now, because we know him. He is psychotic about getting it right and doing all the small things. And so have it happen in week 3 in a game where we're already winning by a lot, so that way he can go be psychotic about it and make sure it never happens again, because he has a desire to be the greatest. So I'm going to go on record as saying I doubt that kid drops a ball the rest of the year. Okay. Bynum with a nice interception, nice diving catch on kind of a miscommunication between Stroud and Collins. That was good to see. I talked about Bynum having a good game, and so I was glad to see him come through with the INT. Aaron Jones breaking off that big run late. What did I talk about in my preview? I talked about wearing that Texans team down and breaking off chunk plays late in the game to put it away. Now, in this case, we didn't put it away because the game was already put away, but still, just it goes to show if you do enough recon on a team, you can see their weaknesses. I saw their weaknesses, and sure enough, at the end of the game, Aaron Jones exposed them and got that big run down to the 1. It's too bad he didn't get into the end zone, but we did eventually get a touchdown out of it. And that touchdown was to Johnny Munt, which it was a nice catch. It was in triple coverage, man. What a throw by Darnold. I thought Tanyan was going to get more playing time in this one. I didn't see him except on special teams. I don't know why you call up Robert Tanyan and play special teams. I saw him on one that we had one kickoff return where Fairbairn kind of kicked it a little bit short. I think Gaskin caught it somewhere between the 5 and the goal line. And they had kind of a weird camera angle. I could have gone back and watched the all-22, but it's like, whatever. But I just happened to notice that Tanyan just looked lost. He didn't even know what he was doing. I don't think he ended up blocking anybody, and Gaskin got annihilated at like the 22. So I was like, okay, why did you even call Tanyan up if you're not even going to have him play on offense? So anyway, a nice touchdown catch by Johnny Munt. I'm not the biggest Johnny Munt fan. I think that he's okay, overrated for what he does. I see him. He's made out to be this guy who's like a great blocker or something, and I don't really see it. But anyway, moving on from Johnny Munt. Grenard with the 3rd sack, the hat trick, love it. The revenge game against his old team, so awesome. Tunsil ends up with 5 penalties on the day, which is like, I'd love to see his PFF grade. Did he get rated at a 9.3 or whatever? We'll see. I'm so irritated about that. Jones gets over 100 yards on the ground for the day. That was awesome to see. I love it. And then Reichard with the bong, for good from 58. The second longest field goal in Vikings history. I don't know if anybody caught that, okay? The longest field goal in Vikings history is 61 yards by Joseph a couple of years ago against the Giants in a game winner. Already, it's like not Blair Walsh, not Ryan Longwell, not Fawad Rivez, not Gary Anderson, nobody. The longest field goal, except for the 61-yarder, was 56 by Blair Walsh, which I think was tied by a couple of guys. So literally in his third game, Will Reichard, with a 58-yarder, clinking that puppy in off the upright, he's already got the second longest field goal in Vikings history. That's awesome. I love that. Jalen Redmond got a sack late in the game. That was cool. A lot of our second string, third string guys, not third string, but second string guys got in late in the game, and that was awesome. A nice pass breakup by Shaq in the end zone. And then I think a play or two later, a tip ball by Theo Jackson that I believe was the last play of the game. Where they were trying to get the ball to Nico, just trying to get their garbage points, right? And I just love the effort at the end of that. It was a blowout, and still our guys are just like, no, you will not score. And they just bought in, and Flores was just like, you're not getting no garbage points on us, man. Maybe some yards, no points. And I just love it. I love this team so much right now, dude. It's so good. And oh yeah, this was a kind of a last note that I had, and it's about Ryan Wright again, is that I noticed that there was another punt that landed in front of a returner that had the returner kind of like hesitant, and confused about whether he should run up and try and catch it or hang back. I think that Ryan Wright is working on some kind of like sidewinder, spinner type of a punt that is meant to cause that situation. He creates hesitation with the returner, or maybe the spin on the ball creates a bobble or something. I can't be told otherwise. I'm sure of it. I think this is the thing he's doing. The sideline thing, the sidewinder thing, I'm sure he's doing it. In this particular instance, the ball inexplicably bounced as the returner was running away from the ball. It literally bounced right to him. We're not going to see that happen again this year. So that was just fortunate for Houston. But Ryan Wright, he's on to something, man. I look forward to see what else he's got up his sleeve this year. Okay, so here we go. We've done Vikings Views. We've done live game notes. Now we're moving on to the review. Okay, so we're going to pull up my review. I'm going to kind of go through it a little bit on the quicker side. We're literally coming up on an hour now, and I still haven't done my go looks. But let's go over to the spreadsheet. We're going to transition it over. Okay, so here are my grades for the game, and hopefully you can see that. But my big winner for the day on defense, as you can see, again, I don't know if you caught last week, the linebackers had enormous, look at this, Cashman and Pace and Jones and Van Ginkel, and Metellus, they had some really big, like, play distribution or whatever you want to call it, right? Okay, in this game, look at this. Look at the distribution between all of the players. This was such a cohesive effort by the defense. Everybody stepped up and made plays in this one. And it just, look at our overall score here. It was actually a plus 19, which I think was our lowest of the three games, according to my grades. But, I mean, just, your guys right at the top here: Grenard, Harrison Phillips, Jerry Tillery, Andrew Van Ginkel, Jonathan Bullard, Pat Jones II, Cashman, Harrison Smith, Jalen Redmond, Jay Ward, Jahad Ward, Shaq Griffin, Stephon Gilmore, and Theo Jackson all had plus grades for me. So, yes, it wasn't our best graded out game, in my opinion, for our defense overall through our first 3 weeks. But look at the number of players who had positive results in this game. It was a total team effort on defense. I mean, what more can you ask for? Like, they're playing as well as you could possibly ask. I thought Bynum had kind of an even day. Metellus had an even day. Despite some of the great plays early in the game, I noticed that Camus had a couple of, bad tackle attempts later in the game that kind of evened him out. Asamoah actually got into the game late in the game and ended up having a bad coverage snap, which I'm like, whoa, shocker. But then, yeah, Byron Murphy was my lowest graded guy. He ended up at a -4. He got picked on a little bit in this game, and what's ironic actually I noticed is that Byron Murphy, who was mostly against Stephon Diggs, and then Brian O'Neill, who was mostly against Danielle Hunter, ended up with our two lowest grades on the day, offense and defense. And I just found that very funny because I think that those two really wanted this game, and clearly we didn't give it to them. But I mean, they brought it. They brought it themselves. But those two a team don't make, right? So then on offense, my two big winners at plus 13, easily Aaron Jones and Sam Darnold. I will continue to pound the table for Aaron Jones. And it's like, I know all the conversation right now is about Sam Darnold, and I get it. And I'm very happy for Sam Darnold, and I'm so glad that he's playing as well as he's playing. But the key to our offense is Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is making this thing run. When we need a first down, he gets a first down. He's not taking TFLs. He is getting yardage, even when the blocking isn't perfect. And oftentimes he's getting 5, 6, 7, 8 yards on every single run, just putting us in these great down and distance situations. And then he's also excellent helping to block out of the backfield, catching balls on screens and dump offs and things. He is quite possibly the most important player on the offense. Yes, that even includes Justin Jefferson. Jefferson's the big play guy, okay? He is the elite talent. Aaron Jones is just the do-it-all guy. This guy needs to stay healthy because with Aaron Jones on our offense, this offense can do anything. So, yes, I am loving Aaron Jones so far. I can't believe we got this guy. Nealer had a great day. He ended up at a +5 for me. Jefferson had a great day at +5. He would have been much higher had he not dropped those passes late in the game. Powell had a nice game. Ham had some nice blocks in this game. Quessenberry, I talked about him, had some nice blocks when he came in. Munt ended up with a decent game. I'm like, okay, good for you, Johnny. Even Ingram for me ended up with a positive game. I'm like, screw PFF, man. I know what I'm seeing. Ty Chandler, he had kind of a tough day running, but he did have one good run that I enjoyed. Brandell, I thought had kind of an even day. Darisaw, he got Darisaw and O'Neill. So Darisaw mostly went against Anderson. O'Neill mostly went against Hunter. Darisaw got beat a couple of times. Hey, Anderson is a young up-and-coming edge rusher, so, it's going to happen. Oliver had kind of a nondescript day. He's actually going to come up on my go look. Tristan Jackson, he came in just a couple of times, I think, and he had one play. Oliver and Jackson are actually combined in the same play. You'll see. Anyway, and then Bradbury, I thought, had a pretty rough day. Tim Settle, again, he brought his A game in this one. He really gave it to Bradbury, and then I think on at least one occasion, Hunter actually rushed from the inside and also ate Bradbury's lunch on that one. So, and then just a quick rundown of the special teams. Oh, I do want to point out our offense was a +37 in this one. That's our highest of the year. Our offense was amazing in this game. Okay, and then our special teams was a +5. We did very well in special teams. Caleb Evans had a nice punt coverage. Bo Richter had a nice kick coverage snap. Brandon Powell had that great play on the, hitting the gunner before he could down the ball. Ryan Wright had a great punt. Theo Jackson had a great punt coverage snap. I think actually Theo and Caleb actually came together on that one. And then Will Reichard had that long-ass field goal, second longest in Vikings history. And then Tunyon had that one weird kick coverage snap where he didn't block anybody. So there you go. So there is the Texans game review, according to me, which players I felt played the best. And we only had a couple of guys not play too well, So again, it was a total team effort. All right, so we're going to bring me back to the main cam, okay? Because we're getting ready to do a go look segment, all right? And I've got another one of these cool graphics coming up that I've created, but I want to get my stuff kind of ready to go here. First of all, okay, so I got this ready. So let's run the graphic here. Okay. Go look, here we go. Whoop, no, stop it. We got to transition it and then play it. There you go.
Go look.
Nice. Back to me. Awesome. Okay, and now we're going to pull up the browser, transition that over. We're going to do our 5 go look plays here. This is going to be fun. Okay, so. Oh, you know what? I think I remember them. I put it on a spreadsheet. I should have kept my note. Anyway, let's see. Here, let's play it a little bit and then I'll rewind it. You guys can see that. Okay. Oh, yeah. I remember this one. Here we go. I'm going to rewind it. Okay. On this play, watch Blake Brandell. Okay, here at your left guard. Ed Ingram here at your right guard. The reason why I love this play so much is because they are both going to get a hit on a defensive lineman and then also get a hit on the second level, creating an enormous amount of space for Jones to just run right through. And then about 7 yards here, Jones actually gets smashed by these two safeties, I believe, because, again, they have a good, talented secondary, and they came up and made a great tackle collectively on Jones. But just watch this enormous hole open up while these two guards of ours both get a first block and then a secondary block on the second level. Watch this. Look at that. Boom. There's the safeties right there. Still, I mean, that blocking, you can't do any better than that. That's good stuff. Okay. This play here, let me let it play forward again. I'm sorry, I forgot my notes. Oh, yeah, this is that crazy throwback play. This one I want to point out. Here. That's the end of the run. Okay, this is what I want to point out here. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about the overall buy-in by the team, and particularly on defense. The reason why I'm saying this is because look at this. It's 3rd and 12. Okay, Byron Murphy Jr. is right here. Okay, he's playing in the slot. This play, it gets thrown out to Diggs. Diggs throws it back over here. This guy takes off. Murphy's literally going to be over here. He's going to run all the way over here and help make the tackle way over here. And it's just, that's the kind of hustle we're talking about. That's the kind of defensive play we're talking about. Let's watch Byron Murphy on this one. Here he is here. He's going to come running. Got held a little bit there. They still got the first down, but man, look at that effort. Look at that effort, dude. Way to go, Byron. Love that. All right, next play up. Let's see what I got here. I forget. Oh yeah, this one cracked me up. So I've got a couple of crack me up kind of plays here. Okay, so on this one, Shaquille Griffin actually reads this really, really well. He is seeing a slant. So what happens is, and I think this is Tank Dell. Excuse me. Shaq sees a slant. He's ready to take this ball and take that for a pick six. He is ready for this. Stroud, being the already wise quarterback that he is, knows that Shaq has read this slant and kind of, instead of throwing that quick slant, kind of throws like a little lofty kind of a ball, and they end up getting a nice play on this to Tank Dell. And so I just want you to see Shaq's body language as he jumps this slant route, and then Stroud throws the ball over his head. He has to try and leap back and try and get to it, and then Tank ends up getting the pass. It's quite funny to watch in hindsight, because Shaq, he thought he had one here. He thought he had one. Here we go. Whoop. That's funny. I mean, oh, look at him. He thought he had that one, man. Stroud got him on that one. That's unfortunate. All right, what happens here? Hold on. It's been a long day. Oh, yeah. This is another funny one. Okay. This, you got to see this. This is hilarious. And let it play. Okay, here we go. Here's Garrett Bradbury right here. He is going to lose his guy. He's going to notice a guy getting through, and Darnold does end up being sacked on this play, but you're going to watch. Bradbury blocks a guy with his ass. At some point, he sees a guy get through, and he starts backing up with his ass and, like, literally holds him off. I think it might even be this guy down here. I forget which guy it is. Just keep your eye on Bradbury. Where is he? He's right in here. He's going to block a guy with his ass. You'll see it. There he goes. I don't know if you caught it. Here, I'll rewind it. Whoop, hold on. Excuse me. Sorry. He literally blocks the guy with his ass. One more time. Just watch him. There he goes. Not the best technique, I don't think. Oh, man. Okay, we're almost done here. We're at an hour 10. Last play. Oh, yeah. Oh, man, this is the last one. I talked about a play between, not between, but it includes both Tristan Jackson and Josh Oliver. Okay, you're going to notice Josh Oliver here. Okay, you're going to notice Tristan Jackson here. So, Tristan takes the wrong guy, which then throws Oliver off. I think he then thinks, oh, okay, I'm going to get this other guy. So then Tristan makes a move like he's going to block the guy and then backs off. So then Oliver's like, oh, Tristan's got him. Then Josh backs off. And then the run play just gets blown up. Just watch Tristan. I'll run it back twice. Watch Tristan block and then not block. And then watch Josh's reaction to him. And this is why I think maybe Tristan doesn't see the field quite as much, right? Because he's still trying to figure out the nuance of some of these types of things. So if you just play this, okay, so I think he was supposed to get the corner there, right? Because I think Josh, he's teeing up this safety here. Here, I'll use the pointer. I'm pointing with my finger. Josh is teeing up this safety. Tristan was supposed to get this corner, right? So we'll do that. So then Jones avoids the corner. So then Tristan, now he's made a move like he's coming for the safety. So then Josh is like, oh, he's going to get the safety. I'll continue to block down the field, or maybe even try for that guy. I'm not sure what he thinks in this split second. So then Tristan backs off, and then Josh is like, oh, now nobody's getting this guy, and he ends up making the tackle. See, Josh sees it. He's like, whoops, Tristan just ain't blocking nobody. I don't even know if there's anyone down there. And then, yeah. And so, ironically, we still got 3 or 4 yards on that play. But, man, that was... those were 5 plays that I thought were interesting. And, yeah, I hope you got a good laugh out of that. And I hope you saw some stuff that you thought was cool or whatever. But, anyway... That's the show. Okay, I finished out my go look, and so it's time to wrap it up, friends. So anyway, I've said a lot of things, and I know you can feel the excitement. I hope you're feeling it too. We're on to the Packers. I'm gonna do. My hope is this is Tuesday night. I'm really hoping to do. I want to do a Kwesi-centric show. I want to do, of course, my typical NFL show where I talk about my power rankings, my picks, and all that. I'm trying to think up a new segment. I hope I can come up with something because I'm not really loving the offensive defensive strengths segment. I feel like it's kind of like landing flat a little bit. So I'm kind of hoping to figure something out new there. So I'm gonna kind of you know put my brain on it. We'll see what happens. But and then, of course, there's the Packers game preview show. So 3 more shows. I'm actually going to give you 4 this week, and I think I'm going to stick to it because I'm pumped, man. I am pumped. So you know the mantra, right? This is the Regular Guy Vikings Hour. Please give me a thumbs up. Please give me a subscription. And as we always say, play vicious, be victorious. Peace.